Wait, hang on. Hang on. Welcome back, heathens. It's something different, but not necessarily different at all, really. I get a lot of requests from you guys to do lore on a lot of different pop media things, and I want to do it. Not just the stuff that relates to pagan lore, but I also want to give you guys like lore and background and stories behind great games and anime and characters and all of these things. But one of the biggest ones that I've gotten so far, and I'm actually excited to do it because it's one of my favorite franchises, is you guys have asked me a lot about God of War, specifically the new one, but there's a lot of lore in God of War that can be covered, and I will be doing the new one first, but I also want to go back through the whole series and do at least some light stuff for you guys, because there's a lot of really incredible lore in God of War, providing that you include all of the games, because the first game was just a whole lot of name dropping, and then they did like 3 PSP games that filled in all of the lore and backstory for it, which was insane. But hey, I'm all about it. More game, more fun, right? So I hadn't really gotten a chance to play all the way through God of War 4. I got to play the demo at E3 2018, 2017, whatever the year was that it was at E3, and I thought that it looked beautiful, but hadn't really looked into it much since then. But in recent months, I've decided to start looking into the game and reading up on the lore, playing it, and talking to people who have played it and getting impressions. And I have to say, the storytelling is incredible. It is so well done. Now, I'm going to say right off the bat, it is not perfect by way of aligning with Norse lore at all. It actually changes a lot of things, but it does it in a way that is perfect for the type of storytelling that it is doing. There are a lot of things that are in Norse mythology that don't make a whole lot of sense, and that's true of a lot of mythologies, that don't fit well into a linear story. So they change just enough to make it make more sense in a linear storyline without changing the core principles of what goes on in the game. Now, for those of you who are not familiar, God of War is a franchise that focuses on the main character, Kratos. And Kratos is a Spartan who was a Spartan general. Well, not at first, but he's a Spartan general in the era when Sparta was one of the most dominant military forces on the planet. And he essentially goes into battle against some Germanic barbarians, and he starts to lose. And this is the lore from the first game. He starts to lose, so he sells his soul to essentially gain victory over... He sells his soul to Ares, who is the god of war, to gain victory over his enemies. And that game ends, spoiler alert, it's 2005, but if you haven't played it yet, spoiler alert, he ends up killing Ares and taking his mantle as the god of war, which is how we get the name of the franchise. But fast forwarding into the fourth game, the game that was just recently released in 2019, we get this whole different Kratos, and we started to see it a little bit in God of War 3. But they make him very paternal, but also very vulnerable and confused. And I know I'm talking more about the character in the game than I am the lore, but I just wanted to take this video to tell you guys how much I absolutely love this game. And it is such a great example of well done storytelling. Now, this video is not going to have a whole lot of meat and potatoes in the way of the actual game itself, because I want to know if this is something that you guys want. Do you want more lore videos that are based around games and anime and books and popular media? Because I would love to do them. This is the stuff that I do for work, and I do it because I love it. And if you guys want more stuff like this, it would be very exciting for me to be able to do it. So please let me know in the comments down below if you want more like this. Or not like this, but if you want more on stuff like this. So, just getting into the way that the game starts, and there are going to be a lot of spoilers because I'm literally going to be talking about the whole story, but they went so in depth with anything. You've got Mimir's Tales, you've got lore markers. You've got individual bios for each of the creatures and the bosses. You've got backstories on famous Valkyries, which aren't actually Valkyries, but again, that's something that we'll get into. So a lot of people believe or think that Valkyries were a specific race, but they weren't. The Valkyries were actually the maidens of Odin, and they bring in sort of a sub lore that is sort of talked about but never really talked about, including Freya and her association with the Valkyries in the game, and it's very interesting. But we start out the story with Baldur. So Baldur is one of the twin sons of Odin, who is the twin of Hodur, and he shows up at Kratos' house, where he is living with his son Atreus shortly. Well, we open the game on them laying Kratos' wife, Faye, and this is another very interesting thing, but again, if you guys want more of this, I'll actually get into that. Laying his wife Faye to rest, and then burning her in very much the old pagan way, giving her sort of a warrior's burial, which is super cool. Like, the whole way that they do it is very neat, even with Kratos lighting the pyre with his axe. Like, it's choice. And then Baldur shows up and essentially starts shit. Like, he really gets into it with Kratos. And the whole thing is very intense, and it's very, very pagan, the way that it goes down. Like, Baldur essentially waiting until he knows that he'll have a good fight before he actually puts any fight into it. Like, the whole thing is brilliantly done. And the storytelling all the way through, like Mimir's tales, the lore markers, every aspect of this, and the way that it is told, and the way that they incorporate the real lore and then their own sort of fabricated stuff, and then they use Atreus as the vehicle for it. Like, it all just works so well. So if you guys want a video series, because it would have to be a series, like, I was going through and just kind of mapping out a baseline for what I would need to talk about this, and we're talking a minimum of 8 20-minute videos on this series. So if you guys want it, please let me know down below, and if you are not already subscribed to the channel, please give a mighty Kratos axe swing to that subscribe button, and on your backhand, make sure you hit the bell, because that's the only way you're going to know when I upload videos, and it will also ring out your victory over the subscribe button to everyone who is not, and they will be envious of your mighty victory. Now, that being said, guys, that's all I've got for this video. This is a little bit more scatterbrained and not as structured. Not that any of my shit's really structured, but more structured than less structured than what you normally get from me when it comes to lore videos. But I want to know if you guys want more stuff on, like, pop media lore, because I would really love to do it. And I know I keep saying that, but I'm hoping that if I say it enough, even if you don't want it, you guys will pity me and say in the comments that you do want it, because I really want to do them. So let me know about down below, and if this video hits, say, I don't know, 50 likes, then I will begin this series, and it will be a hell of a lot of fun, and we'll all enjoy it together. We'll be one big happy family who all sit around and talk about the lore of God of War and all of the other fun games out there. Don't forget to follow me on all of the other things. I've got a new podcast. It's called Endless Epic. I talk about stories. I actually do this exact same thing on this podcast, but I do it for books. And episode 3 of The Phantom Toll Booth just dropped. Well, it was supposed to drop on Monday, but it just dropped because technical issues. But yes, Endless Epic, wherever you get your podcasts. And you can follow me on TikTok at @TheRealSlimYeezus, or my Instagram or Twitter, which is just @RealSlimYeezus. And if you guys want to get my podcast early, or you want to get little, like, exclusive behind the scenes stuff and read my scripts before I put out my videos, or even get some more special stuff, you can support me on Patreon. And you'd be surprised what $1 can do for a creator. Not just for me, but any creator. No, of course, if you give the $1 to me, it's just for me. But if you give $1 to any creator, you'd be surprised what it can do for them. So, that being said, stay bloodthirsty, my friends, and remember, all hail.